Have you managed to open? Huh? Are we there? Actually, the papers that are being laid are in the old order paper. So, as you try to sort out the problem, you can use the old order paper. So there was Chairman Jailak. Order, Senator Jarurke. Leader of majority. Order, Senator Murkomen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Tuesday, 4th August 2020. Number 1, the fiber crops regulation 2020. Number 2, the horticultural crops regulations 2020. I thank you.
Next order. Any member from the jailer? Yeah. Oh, Senator Sakaja. Senator Haniri, what's your intervention?
Mr. Speaker, I heard you say that
Yep.
we can proceed because the paper is being laid on the old order paper. But I want to inform you that the gadgets are not opening. Even the old order paper, we don't have. So we cannot follow what is the proceedings of the House without the order paper. Even the old one is not there.
Senator Mazayo? Is that the common problem?
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha kwamba tuko na department ama kitengo ambacho kinahusikana na mambo ya kutengeza hivi vidude ama tunaviita sijui vilolopipo. Ikiwa vilolopipo.
Tulisema inaitwa nini?
Vipopolipo. Vipopolipo. Bwana Spika, lakini cha muhimu zaidi ni kwamba ni kwa nini hivi leo katika mitandao ambayo sisi tunapewa hapa ndani ya bunge la Senate ni leo peke yake ndio hii mitandao haifanyi kazi, na wale ambao wanahusika ingekuwa muhimu Bwana Spika ikiwa unaweza kutoa uamuzi ya kwamba hivi vilolopipo ama hivi popolipo pamoja na hii mitandao ambayo tuko nayo hapa ifanye kazi mara moja, waambie wafungue. Asante.
We have the technicians to assist in Senator Chararge, what's your intervention?
I think, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious day and there are serious issues we are supposed to discuss. I think the Secretariat should in future, at least if they're experiencing challenges, should let the House know in advance so that we are well prepared. But at this point, Mr. Speaker, my suggestion is we can proceed, but Mr. Speaker, I'm just giving an opinion. You will have your time to speak. Let us proceed, but at least in the next few minutes, Mr. Speaker, the technological challenges can be rectified, because I don't want to go to say we can be able to get papers here since because of the challenges of COVID. So in my own opinion, let us proceed with the order of the day as the Secretariat works around the clock in ensuring that it's fixed. I thank you, Speaker.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is rather unfortunate on such a day, but I just wish, because I can hear some colleagues saying we adjourn, but I think we can make do. We have the Senate business on the official WhatsApp page. It is posted there, so people can access it. Everyone who has a phone and the members there.
It's on your WhatsApp.
So the supplementary
business.
order paper is there, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, open your WhatsApp. Yeah, okay. Okay, Senator Kindiki Kiduri.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm in support of us continuing on condition that we don't pass the contentious formula.
Yeah, out of order, Senator Kindiki. Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, I don't understand why you've let Senator Cheriot get off with that proposal of WhatsApp. And if anything, he needs to come to report to this House, because even last with some of the mics, I remember Senator Ledama was contributing, we could not hear. Today, Mr. Speaker, I'm made to understand that there are certain amendments to my motion, and no one can see it, Mr. Speaker. So, you know, we need a report from the Commission as to whether this is like the servers or what is happening, so that we also get these amendments. But going forward, Mr. Speaker, for today, please, Mr. Speaker, allow the Secretariat to print out the order paper, because I hear there are 3 amendments to the formula, and we are already discussing the motion that I brought before the House, Mr. Speaker. So that we can all look at it, let's look at the math and decide how to move forward, Mr. Speaker. I would urge, if the technical system is not sorted out, a hard copy of those proposals by, I think, Senator Wamatangi and Senator Orengo, so that we can also be, bring ourselves up to speed with that, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, they are going to run hard copies, which will be brought. Can we make progress? Next order. Chair Jailak, okay, Senator Sakaji. Vice.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Tuesday, the 4th of August, 2020. The report of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the Elections Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 18 of 2019. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Majority Leader. Yeah, wear your masks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to give a notice of the following motion. Suspension of the sitting of the Senate outside Nairobi for the 4th session 2020. That aware that pursuant to
Let's
Article
consult in low tones. Yeah. Did.
that aware that pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution and Standing Order 31(1) of the Senate, by resolution passed on 21st June 2018, resolved that a sitting of the Senate be held away from the traditional premises in Parliament buildings in Nairobi, and that such sitting take place in all regions during the term of the Third Senate. Recognizing that the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to persist in the country, resulting in disruptions to the conduct of the business of the Senate and Parliament as a whole, appreciating that in accordance with the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health advisory for the containment of the pandemic, a set of guidelines have been issued for both Senate plenary and committee to contain the spread of the pandemic in Parliament in particular and in Kenya as a whole. Now, therefore, the Senate resolved that, notwithstanding the resolution of 21st June 2018, the sittings outside Nairobi for the fourth session 2020 to be suspended. I thank you.
The next order is still yours. The motion, okay.
Which is which? Is it the one for mess?
For, yeah.
Let Nani move. I'm a bit unwell.
Senator Wetangula.
Wetangula.
Senator Wetangula. Hello, order members. Let us observe social distancing, please. Please, please. Let's observe social distancing. It's serious.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That aware that on the 19th September 2019, Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide, appreciating that the initial mandate of the select committee lapsed on 5th October 2019 and extensions of the same approved by the Senate on 12th November 2019, on 4th March 2020, and 14th July 2020, respectively, regretting that due to new evidence arising from the hearings revealed important gaps that need to be addressed in the inquiry, and further owing to the sheer scale and magnitude of the investigations and the amount of documents involved, now therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 34 days to enable the ad hoc committee to conclude its work and table its report in the Senate on or before 8th September 2020.
Okay. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
So statements are also deferred because of what we have ahead of the House. Next order.
Order number 8, the Mang Beans Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2020. First reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the development, regulation, and promotion of the Mang Beans sector and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, motion, the suspension of the sittings of the Senate outside Nairobi for the 4th session 2020.
Mimi nimeshindwa kutafuta hii kitu.
Who is moving?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I wish to move the following motion. Suspension of the sitting of the Senate outside Nairobi for the 4th session, 2020, that 26(1) of the Constitution, and Standing Order 31 of the Senate. The Senate, by resolution passed on 21st June 2018, resolved that a sitting of the Senate be held away from the traditional premises in Parliament Building in Nairobi, and that such sitting take place in all regions during the term of the 3rd Senate. Recognizing that the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to persist in the country, resulting in disruptions
Let's consult in low tones
to the conduct of business of the
as we
Senate
observe social
and of the
distancing.
Parliament as a whole. Appreciating that in accordance with the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health advisory for the containment of the pandemic, a set of guidelines have been issued for both Senate plenary and committee to contain the spread of the pandemic in Parliament in particular, and in Kenya as a whole. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that, notwithstanding the resolution of 21st June 2018, the sitting outside Nairobi for the 4th session 2020 be suspended. Mr. Speaker, this is fairly a procedural motion and a very straightforward motion. The reason why we are not having this sitting outside Nairobi this year is because of the challenges we are facing. So therefore, I wish to request Senator Mutula Jr. to second. I thank you.
Yes, Mutula Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. This is a straightforward motion. We cannot sit outside Nairobi because of the prevailing circumstances of COVID. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think for this session, we should postpone this visit to another time. I second.
Okay, other members. Honorable, take your seats, please. I now propose the question, which is that aware that pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution and Standing Order 31(1) of Senate, the Senate, by resolution passed on 21st June 2018, resolved that a sitting of the Senate be held away from traditional premises in Parliament buildings in Nairobi, and such sittings take place in all regions during the term of the 3rd Senate. Recognizing that the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to persist in the country, resulting in disruptions to the conduct of business of the Senate and of Parliament as a whole, and appreciating that in accordance with the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health advisory for containment of the pandemic, a set of guidelines have been issued for both Senate plenary and committees to contain the spread of the pandemic in Parliament in particular and in Kenya as a whole. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that, notwithstanding the resolution of 21st June 2018, the sittings outside Nairobi for the 4th session 2020 be suspended. I put the question. Because that are aware that pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution and Standing Order 31(1) of the Senate, by resolution passed on 21st June 2018, resolved that a sitting of the Senate be held away from traditional premises in Parliament buildings in Nairobi, and that such sittings take place in all regions during the term of the 3rd Senate. Recognizing that the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to persist in the country, resulting in disruptions to the conduct of business of the Senate and Parliament as a whole, appreciating that in accordance with the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health advisory for the containment of the pandemic, a set of guidelines have been issued for both Senate plenary and committee to contain the spread of the pandemic in Parliament, in particular in Kenya as a whole. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that, notwithstanding the resolution of 21st June 2018, the sitting outside Nairobi for the 4th session 2020 be suspended. As a matter of that opinion, say aye. Aye. As a matter of a contrary view, say nay. The ayes have it. Next. Yeah. No, what of the... Next order.
Order number 10, extension of the mandate of the ad hoc committee on managed medical equipment services.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion. That aware that on 19 September 2019, Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficial hospitals countrywide, appreciating that the initial mandate of the select committee lapsed on 5th October 2019 and the extensions of the same approved by the Senate on 12th November 2019, 4th March 2020, and 14th July 2020 respectively, regretting that due to new evidence arising from the hearings revealed important gaps that need to be addressed in the inquiry, and further owing to the sheer scale and magnitude of the investigations and the amount of documentation involved, now therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 34 days to enable the ad hoc committee to conclude its work and table its report in the Senate on or before 8th September 2020. Mr. Speaker, this is a request to the House to expand the time of the committee, that is ad hoc on maize program. So far, Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the Senate that all the hearings have been concluded. A raw draft of the report is nearly concluded. Last week, Mr. Speaker, you may recall you approved our retreat to Naivasha, and we worked round the clock for 4 days. And we are aware that all things being equal, the House is to take a recess for about a month at the end of the sitting today. The committee, Mr. Speaker, has done, in my humble view, a very sterling job in trying to unearth this difficult situation where each of our counties has been paying huge sums of money towards a suspect scheme. And we want, as a committee, to bring to this House a report that is deep, that is well-researched, that is factual, that brings to a conclusive and definitive end to this saga of leasing medical equipment. I don't want to go into the details, Mr. Speaker, but members may recall that some of our hearings have been aired live on several national televisions, and we thank the media for that. And the responses we have been receiving from the public have been quite positive. I want to urge the House, Mr. Speaker, that if we are not going on recess, we probably would have brought the report to the House in the next 10 days or less. I want to also confirm to the House, Mr. Speaker, that the membership of the committee of 9 members have been extremely engaged and very cooperative. In most of our sittings, we have been having 100% turnout of members asking very inquisitorial questions. We have had Zoom meetings last week with the former Minister Mailu, all the way from Geneva, the former Attorney General and others. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the House to give the committee this extension so that we can bring the report at the opening of the House after the recess, and we will not, and I promise we will not, come back to the House to ask for any further extension. I want to invite, Mr. Speaker, as I beg to move the motion, Senator Millicent Omanga, a member of the committee, to second the motion, and urge the House to give us this support so that we can put this aside and go to the real business of the day today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move.
Asante Bwana Spika. Napenda kuunga mkono mswada wa kutaka komiti maalum ya kuangalia MES, kamati ya MES iweze kupata muda kidogo uongezewe. Kusema kweli Bwana Spika, kamati imeweza kufanya kazi mzuri sana. Tungepata siku ngine 2-3 kama nyumba. Hatukuwa leo tunamaliza mula huu, tungeweza kuleta ripoti kwenye floor ya Senate. Bwana Spika, I second.
I was going to tell you to be careful. Look at your standing orders. Okay, Honorable Senators, I now propose that aware that on 19 September 2019, Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119. Take your seat, Senator Shiro. Facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide. Appreciating that the initial mandate of the select committee lapsed on 5th October 2019, an extension of the same approved by the Senate on 12th November 2019, on 4th March 2020, and on 14th July 2020, respectively. Regretting that due to new evidence arising from the hearings revealed important gaps that need to be addressed in the inquiry, and further owing to the sheer scale and magnitude of the investigations and the amount of documentation involved, now therefore the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 34 days to enable the ad hoc committee to conclude its work and table its report to the Senate on or before 8 September 2020. Senator Rose Nyamunga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to support the extension for the period that is required by the committee, the ad hoc committee on meds. Mr. Speaker, I have faith in the committee and taking into account the work that we have seen them do. It is very important, Mr. Speaker, that we get to the root of the truth on medical equipment leasing, because many counties have lost a lot of money, and it is important for us to get to the root and solve this problem once and for all. And I want to urge the committee that let it be the last extension so that we conclude this matter, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Mwaura Isaac, then Senator Langat from the other chamber, start coming forward.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nafikiri naunga mkono kuongezwa kwa muda kwa hii kamati maalum, na nafikiri niwaambie kwamba wamechukua muda zaidi tayari, kwa sababu nafikiri wiki iliyopita waliweza kwenda katika mahala pa faraga ili waweze kutatua masala ibuka ambayo yanahusu hii ripoti maalum. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, hili ni jambo sugu ambalo Wakenya wengi wanadadisi kwamba itaonyesha ubabe wa bunge la Seneti. Kwa hiyo tunawahusi waangazie kwa kina na maana zaidi ili tuweze kuondoa huu ubadhirifu wa rasilimali za nchi na ili tuweze kuwa na afueni katika sekta ya afya. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono.
Mutula Kilonzo Jr. And don't come too close to the speaker. Those who are coming to consult. Proceed, Senator.
Speaker, I think they should put a screen for you so that we don't approach you too much. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support, but at the same time say that this is the longest serving ad hoc committee. Of course, on the last day, there's nothing much we can do but give you an extension. And we hope Senator Fatuma Dulo and Senator Wetangula that you will not disappoint us. We are extending this because we don't want you to disappoint. So, and we have seen what is in the public domain. We are already making our own conclusions. The Court of Public Opinion has confirmed. So all you need is to validate what we have always thought about medical leasing equipment was a mess. I support.
Senator Lagarde, then I will put the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to support this particular motion on the extension of the time for this very important committee or ad hoc committee on medical equipment. Mr. Speaker, I know very well at the point when this particular committee was almost at a conclusion, the challenge of COVID-19 ended or came into this country. And the committee has been facing a lot of challenges, also meeting various members that were supposed to give very important information, and most of them, Mr. Speaker, were promoted to be ambassadors in other countries, and it wasn't easy to reach them. So I do support, Mr. Speaker, and urge the committee that this is a very important area that every Kenyan is looking forward. You know, mess has become a mess, and every Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, is looking forward for a solution to this particular problem, which has been taking money for the counties right from the source to the tune of 200 million every year. So I want to support the extension of the time for this committee and actually tell them the importance of the same is highly expected by the Kenyans. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this particular extension. Thank you.
Okay, order. Take your seats, senators. Senator Malala, take your seat. Senator Malala, take your seat. Honorable senators, I now put the question, which is that aware that on 19 September 2019, Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in now 119 beneficiary hospital countrywide, appreciating that the initial mandate of the select committee lapsed on 5th October 2019 and extensions of the same approved by the Senate on 12th November 2019, on 4th March 2020, and on 14th July 2020 respectively, regretting that due to new evidence arising from the hearings revealed important gaps that need to be addressed in the inquiry, and further owing to the sheer scale and magnitude of investigations and the amount of documentation involved, now therefore the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 34 days to enable the ad hoc committee to conclude its work and table a report in the Senate on or before 8 September 2020. As many of that opinion say aye. As many of the contrary view say nay. The ayes have it. Let me call the leader of majority to issue a statement before we go to the next order.
It's long, eh? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, pursuant to Standing Order 52.1.1, I hereby present to the Senate the business of the House for Tuesday, 8 September 2020, pursuant to the calendar passed on 27 February 2020 and as amended by resolution made on 17 March, 14 April, and 2nd June 2020, respectively. The Senate is scheduled to proceed on recess at the rise of the Senate today, 4th August 2020, until Tuesday, 8 September 2020. On that day, Tuesday, 8 September 2020, the Senate Business Committee will meet to schedule the business of the Senate. The Senate will consider bills scheduled for second reading and those at the Committee of the Whole stages on 8 September 2020. The Senate will also continue with consideration of business that will not be concluded in today's order paper, including motions, petitions, and statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to commend all senators for the work we have been able to do even under the prevailing COVID pandemic circumstances. I would particularly wish to commend senators for the work that we have done in this session so far, including passage and subsequent enactment into law of the following bills. Number 1, County Government Amendment. Number 2, Bill, Senate Bill number 7 of 2022, County Government Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 11 of 2017.
Order. Let's consult in low tones. There seems to be, Senator Cherargei, you have become a nomad again.
Number 3, the Office of the County Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2018. Number 4, the petition to County Assemblies Procedure Bill, Senate Bills number 22 of 2018. This brings the number of bills that have been passed by the Senate and assented to by His Excellency the President into law to 12 acts of Parliament. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, a total of 19 bills are still due for second reading, and a further 17 bills are at the committee of the whole stage. I am aware that there are more legislative proposals which are under development by individual senators and standing committees. These will undoubtedly, upon approval by the Speaker, increase the total number of bills in the Senate and the workload before us. This committee will continue to prioritize these bills accordingly. In this regard, I urge the relevant standing committee to use the opportunity during the coming recess to expeditiously conclude consideration of these bills and table reports pursuant to the standing orders. Likewise, I urge standing committees to also conclude. Sorry.
Are you through?
No. Mr. Speaker, even as the Senate proceeds on recess, critical business remains relating to financial matters, namely the third basis for revenue allocation among county governments and the county allocation of revenue bill. Following the tabling of the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on 13 July 2020 on the revenue allocation formula and the concerns that were raised on the proposed formula, by colleagues on the proposed formula, efforts were made through the intervention of the Senate leadership by constituting a team of senators from both sides to address these concerns. Unfortunately, following from the debate of this motion, which commenced on Tuesday, 28 July 2020, and which is scheduled to resume today, we senators are still grappling on this matter. I continue to urge
people should wear their masks.
My fellow
honorable senators,
colleague senators, that as we resume the debate today, we need to proceed with the patience, understanding, and objectively, as the matter is undoubtedly weighty and timely, Mr. Speaker, as the House of Parliament mandated with the protection of the interests of counties and their government, as stated at the Article 96 of Constitution. We want what is best for not only our individual counties, but all counties collectively. A resolution on this matter will then pave a way for consideration for the county allocation of revenue bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you, and hereby lay the statement on the table of the House. I thank you.
Okay. Next order, Senator Mazayo. Yes, Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Mr. Speaker, before you move to the next order, I thought it would be, and I have said this severally, perhaps for avoidance of doubt and at the risk of sounding like a broken record, repeat that the report of the majority leader on the business we have conducted cannot be complete without a report of the business that is lying in the National Assembly. We are owed that duty. The members of the SBC might be aware, but this plenary is owed a duty over the pending bills that we have passed. Mr. Speaker, that report is not complete in my view, and I would be happy to have those directions, Mr. Speaker, for the next report to be complete. Thank you.
Okay, I think the leadership of the majority side has noted what has been raised by Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Next order.
Order number 11, motion. Approval of the third basis for revenue allocation among the county governments.
What's your point of order, Senator Murkomen?
Mr. Speaker, I beg to rise on Standing Order 105. Mr. Speaker, which says that a senator who wishes to postpone to some future occasion the further discussion of a question which has been proposed from the chair may, for reasons stated, claim to move that the debate be now adjourned. Mr. Speaker, the subject matter that is before us is extremely important. There is a report of the committee, which, Mr. Speaker, Senator Sakaja proposed an amendment to that report. And it is, we say in law, you take judicial notice of the fact that the amendment that was brought by the majority whip was extremely contentious on the floor of this House. And, Mr. Speaker, led to a process where even the House was adjourned by 9 o'clock to adjourn the debate that was going on the amendment of Senator Sakaja. Mr. Speaker, I know that there is a debate across the country about division of revenue, and everybody is looking up to the Senate. Senate being the citadel of hope. It is the place that everybody looks at, a place of wisdom. And there are many questions Kenyans are asking. Is this the same Senate that Senator Haji, the chair of BBI, is sitting? Is this the same Senate that Attorney General Emeritus Amos Wako is sitting? Is this the same Senate that has three, Mr. Speaker, senior counsels in law, Senator Orengo, Senator Mogeni? Is this the same Senate, Mr. Speaker, that has elders that the whole country is looking up to for leadership? Why would a Senate with that repository of knowledge and wisdom and experience be a house where we cannot agree on a process that unites the country? Mr. Speaker, the conversation that is going on at the moment, Senator Sakaja has brought a very important amendment to the committee report, but, Mr. Speaker, it has not helped to unite the country. The original report will not help unite the country. But there is an opportunity for all of us as a Senate to have a conversation, Mr. Speaker, around this subject matter and come to a conclusion that, Mr. Speaker, those who are losing by a huge margin may perhaps lose very little. Those who are gaining by a huge margin, Mr. Speaker, may gain a little. And then we keep our country together. Mr. Speaker, it is with this in mind that, Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask that this House, Mr. Speaker, adjourns the debate on this report, and we find ways. We cannot, Mr. Speaker, this House cannot, Mr. Speaker, be defeated to find solution. Because I ask myself, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader in this House comes from a party that got the highest number of MPs from Samburu, from, Mr. Speaker, Narok, from, Mr. Speaker, Garissa. How would even its party leader sitting in this House, Mr. Speaker, feel to vote against Samburu, which gave that party 3 members of parliament? What will Senator Lelekwe go back to Samburu and tell them? And what does the party leader of that party go and tell the people of Samburu? We cannot close our eyes on the fact that if you look at the map, and Senator Orengo captured it very well last week. I wish we listened to Senator Orengo. And, Mr. Speaker, because if you look at the map of the losers, Mr. Speaker, you will realize that there is a big, huge red map of a greater landmass of this country, Mr. Speaker, who are losing. And then there are dots in green in a particular corner that are gaining. And then, Mr. Speaker, we have the confidence to tell the people of Kenya, Kenya is about population. But the definition of a country, its people and its territory, Mr. Speaker. We cannot close our eyes on the conversation that Mandera, Mr. Speaker, even though it has few people now and less occupied by people, is because, Mr. Speaker, its potential has not been exploited. Mr. Speaker, in the same manner, Mr. Speaker, I would say that other counties like Turkana, which are 700,000 people, Mr. Speaker, I mean less than 1 million people,
Senator
if we develop it well, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Senator Cherargei, what's your intervention?
My issue is concerned that my leader, Senator Murkomen, wants to mislead the country. The Kangangata amendment was proposing...
Senator Murkomen, take your seat in the meantime and put on your mask. Please. Okay.
Senator Murkomen is making a very good presentation, but he should not mislead the country on one thing. That the Kangata amendment had proposed to freeze for 3 financial years to ensure the part of the country can find solution to this issue. So my point of order is he should stop misleading the country and tell us that he is supporting Senator Sakaja's amendment instead of glossing over issues. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, Senator Sierrake, whom I truly respect and I've said in this House, and he truly respects me, who was my very bright student, Mr. Speaker, has moved to a different subject, which is the motion itself. I am moving an adjournment motion, and I'm making a case for this adjournment motion, Mr. Speaker. And I'm saying that, Mr. Speaker, it's not possible. It's not possible, Mr. Speaker, that the rest of us who come from the few parts of our country that are dotted with green would, Mr. Speaker, congregate in the chambers of this House and disregard completely our brothers and sisters that are crying for conversation. A country that is not able to sit down with its own people, a leadership, Mr. Speaker, of a Senate like this, that has men and women who are aspiring to lead this country, some who are party leaders, cannot, Mr. Speaker, take sides against its citizens, Mr. Speaker. The reason why, Mr. Speaker, today people are not occupying, Mr. Speaker, Turkana, and everybody was running there when we say there is oil, is because of its potential. Let me ask you, Mr. Speaker, there are many counties that are going to get greater resources, but Taita Taveta County, Mr. Speaker, which has Savo National Park, which contributes immensely, Mr. Speaker, to our national resources, Mr. Speaker, is supposed to be one of the counties we should ignore and say there are few people, we forget about it. I am requesting under Standing Order 105, Mr. Speaker, that once more, let's give, Mr. Speaker, reason, Mr. Speaker,
What's
an opportunity.
Order, Senator?
Let's give, Mr.
Senator,
Speaker, an opportunity.
There's a point of order from Senator Kangata.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 58 of the Senate, and I read to you, certain motions not to be moved. Sabbatical 1, no motion which is the same in substance as any question which has been resolved, either in the affirmative or in the negative, may be moved during the preceding 6 months in the same session. Mr. Speaker, sir, before this motion
Can you take your seats? You are standing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before this motion is supported by whoever will second it, I need your ruling on the question whether this motion is the same as the motion that was moved last week by Honorable Senator James Orengo, which we voted on, and it was defeated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
It's different. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because it's so obvious that the adjournment motion Senator moved was during the amendment of Senator Kangata. And I think, Mr. Speaker, let's make really, I know I was not asked to make any rule, you will make it at your own time, but allow me to just conclude, Mr. Speaker, what the motion I was moving, unless...
The point of order, Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, well, at this point, I might not fully agree with the motion by Senator Murkomen, and I'm waiting to hear him. I just like, Mr. Speaker, because you've been asked by the majority whip to make a decision. First, I'd like to encourage him to be reading things to the end. It's a very nice habit, Mr. Speaker. Standing Order 58 talks about a motion in its substance, and that is mainly substantive motions. But if you go to 58.2, it says, despite even that provision, a motion to rescind the decision on such a question may be moved with your permission. And the fact that you've allowed Senator Murkomen to move it means that you've actually given him permission to move a motion to consider that decision that was made by the House. So, Mr. Speaker, it is just an exhortation to the whip to read more.
Okay, Senator Murkomen, conclude.
So, Mr. Speaker, I was at the point before I was interrupted. Mr. Speaker, I have tremendous respect for Senator Kangata because he's the SONU leader who led us to the streets when I joined first year. And
Whip, can you take your seat?
And it's
read
actually
standing orders.
For the record of the public, when we joined the University of Nairobi, Senator Kangata was the SONU vice chair. So, and he led a very serious demonstration, Mr. Speaker, which we came up to Parliament here to see people like Senator Orengo. And these are the guys we were looking up to. And Mr. Speaker, he was then expelled and sought the help of Senator Mutula. And I'm sure he's very sympathetic to the situation of Makueni, Mr. Speaker, because Senator Mutula came through for him that time. Suffice to note that we went to campaign with him as a councillor in Muranga. So I have a lot of respect for him. And Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say, I was at the point where I was saying, there is no part of our country that we can really donate to anybody. In fact, I had the trouble, Mr. Speaker, as the chair of devolution committee. I visited Tana River, I visited Garissa, I visited, Mr. Speaker, Wajir, I visited Marsabit and Turkana. And it was deliberate as a devolution committee. We told ourselves, in last time, it was important. Senator Amos Wako bears me witness. And we were given a chance to address county assemblies to understand the marginalization of those regions. Mr. Speaker, I wish our conversation about those counties, Mr. Speaker, would be done when we are visiting those areas. Mr. Speaker, this country, there are parts of this nation that people are still walking without clothes. There are parts of this nation in Wajir where people are drinking water. They have to go for 1 week to get water. Mr. Speaker, for us to appreciate this kind of conversation, I am requesting my colleagues, let's give dialogue one more chance. Let's adjourn this motion, Mr. Speaker, for us to have a conversation, Mr. Speaker, on how to find a way forward that, Mr. Speaker, can unite all of us.
Senator Bogisho.
And, Mr. Speaker,
there's another point of order from the leader of Majority. Try to conclude, Senator Murkomen, so that we. But
I'm just saying that the consultations and even distance, keeping the people are not keeping the distances.
Senators, please. Coronavirus is real. Please observe the protocols. Social distance, please, please, please. We are pleading with you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really want to beg my colleagues, like Senator Orengo attempted last time, I want to try this last attempt to request my colleagues that, Mr. Speaker, we have a chance. Those of us who come from Jubilee and those of us who come from ODM, the people of Kenya respected us and elected Uhuru Kenyatta to become president. He is not president of only the 28 of us. The people of Kenya respected us and gave the former prime minister such large amount of votes that he almost became president.
What's your point of order?
He is a leader for all of us. I request, Mr. Speaker.
There's a point of order. Take your seat, Senator.
Speaker, is the distinguished Senator for Elgeyo Marakwet in order to insinuate that there are only two parties in this house? There is ANC, there is WIPA, Democratic Party, there is KANU, there's CCU, there is Ford Kenya led by yours truly, and the other parties. There's even an independent. You can't insinuate that there are only two parties, Jubilee and ODM. Are you in order?
Senator Murkomen, I think...
Mr. Speaker...
Order, Senator.
Yeah.
You will have to conclude because of time. We have a very heavy agenda ahead of us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I really beg I was just saying, I recognize Senator Moses Masika Wetangula as the bona fide party leader of Ford Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted just to go on record. And Mr. Speaker, just to say that the reason why I mentioned Jubilee and I mentioned ODM is because the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Mr. Speaker, because it is us who are given more votes, the minorities, the marginalized, the corners of this country that gave us these votes that we lead, Mr. Speaker, expect much from us. And the Bible says in Luke chapter 6 that, Mr. Speaker, if you love those who only love you, what benefit is it to you, Mr. Speaker? I know, Mr. Speaker, a whole region, a whole part of the country is suffering. We must demonstrate our love as a Senate to find a lasting solution. And I have no doubt in my mind that reason will prevail if we take off this agenda at the part of my conclusion other proposed amendments by Senator Wamatangi, among others. This gives us room for us to go and find a lasting and uniting formula. And I beg my brother, Senator Sakaja, even though we have received as many threats and many problems, including headlines, I beg you, my brother, to accept this adjournment motion and be part and support it. Let's find a formula that will unite our country. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker, and request Senator Faki, Mr. Speaker, from Mombasa, to second.
Just before that order, you know, we are trying to observe the protocols. The following senators, you are sitting in the wrong places, so you go to the extended chamber. Senator Wako, Senator Kajwang, which Wako? Which Wako? Sergeant at Arms, which Wako? Senator Mazayo, Senator Pareno, Senator Linturi, Senator Mwaura, Senator Lelegwe, Senator Kangata, Senator Abshiro, and Senator Moi. Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuunga mkono mswada wa kuahirisha mjadala ambao ulikuwa unaendelea kuhusiana na mswada ambao umeletwa bungeni na seneta wa Nairobi, Seneta Sakaja. Mheshimiwa Spika, tayari nchi ilikuwa imegawanyika kati ya walala hai na walala hoi. Wale kaunti 19 ambazo zilikuwa zinapoteza pesa walikuwa tunajiita walala hoi, na wale 28 ambao walikuwa wanapata walikuwa wanajiita walala hai. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii kugawanya nchi yetu ya Kenya ambayo waanzilishi ama waasisi wa nchi hii walitoa damu zao, wakatoa rasilimali zao na wakatoa maisha yao wengine ili kuhakikisha kwamba tunakuwa na Kenya moja. Tunapoimba wimbo wa taifa tunasema haki iwe ngao na mlinzi. Haki hii ni ipi, Mheshimiwa Spika? Tunapozungumzia haki, je, ni sawa kaunti 19 ziweze kupoteza pesa kwa sababu tunapata nyingine 28 ambazo zinaongezewa? Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo sio haki ambayo tunaizungumzia katika wimbo wetu wa taifa kwamba haki iwe ngao na mlinzi. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, pendekezo la kuahirisha mjadala ili tutoe fursa maseneta wakae chini pamoja tuzungumzie swala hili bila ya kuleta mgawanyiko katika nchi, bila ya kuleta mgawanyiko katika vyama, kwa sababu tunaona kwamba vyama vilikuwa na hatari ya kupasuka. Mheshimiwa Spika, chama chetu cha ODM, maseneta 7 juzi walipiga kura kupinga mswada wa Mheshimiwa Seneta Kangata na wengine 5 wakapiga kuunga mkono. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ni dhahiri kwamba tayari vyama vilikuwa vinapata misukosuko, na hiyo ingesababisha kwamba tunapo